A very good evening, everybody. This is Gulf Harbour Radio, ZMH 286, Patricia and David. And it is a decent evening here, thankfully. We deserved one. It's 21 degrees outside and only 20% cloud cover. We've had it a bit gusty on and off, but it's only 10 knots from the southwest, and the bar is going down 1019.2. So I was just looking up the Vendée Globe. They're all going pretty well too. It's a real analysis of the weather for them because they have to get to Cape Hope at the moment, and it is the skill of the pilots to try and get the low that's coming in so that they get a decent. The lead boats are in the southern hemisphere now, so that they can get help south, but the other ones of course are stuck in the ITCZ and trying to negotiate the on and off winds there. The leader, you probably won't know, he's French, as most of the vessels are, got French crew. He's a guy called Charlie Dallin. The first boat that crossed into the southern hemisphere was a J3, and I don't actually know what this guy's got, but pretty fast anyway, so it's all pretty exciting. I think there's about 35 left in the race now, so that's been interesting to watch. And the other news is that Pogean has got their last day in manoeuvre today. The report from there is 16 knots from the southeast, 2 metre southeast swell, 20% cloud cover, 1014, and 2 less lobsters are enjoying life in the reef. You should have seen the pictures. It's really made us feel quite peckish for something interesting for dinner. But they're leaving tomorrow, so presumably they're putting the lights out as they go through the pass. Okay, we have got Kota Nui and Picasso have really made good progress up the inner reef of Australia. They're now turning the corner of Cape York, and it's they're going like trains really. This last 24 hours has been fairly fast for them. Okay, let's see who I can find on air. Morning Star. Good evening, Scott and Mary. Are you on frequency?
Good evening, Patricia and David. Scott here on Morningstar. Scott, Mary, Morningstar. Do you copy?
Yes, very good copy actually, and you are trotting along there too. Go ahead with your position and report.
All right, Morningstar, 29 degrees, 16 minutes south, 175 degrees, 04 minutes east, on a course of 220 through, doing 5 knots. The wind is south-southeast, 10. Swell is southeast, 1 meter, 100% cloud cover, bar is 1020 and steady. It's a very, very light day. Breeze came up this afternoon, and it is still stubbornly south, so we're fighting to get just on a rough course towards New Zealand. But a nice day of sailing, Patricia. Thank you.
Yeah, well, we'll do our best to keep it decent, and it is looking like pretty light, but I'll pass the microphone to David. 2916 south for Morningstar, 17504 east, 220 true at 5 knots, south-southeast 10 and southeast 1 metre, 100% cloud cover and 1020. So pretty light day, but at least 10 knots is more than what the GFS predicted, so I guess you could be thankful for that. Before I pass the microphone, I shall just give Tango's position. They are not on air for some reason, must be their radio. 3019 and 17550 east, and doing, according to the AIS, about 6 knots on a course of 194, so they might have the engine on by the look of it, and the others are pretty well spread out behind, but it does sound a pretty nice day on board Morningstar. I shall just pass the microphone. What I meant to give you in news too, for anyone interested in Sail GP, They had extremely light conditions in Valencia today, but in New Zealand didn't do all that well. But I see they're still top of the board when they combine all the results. Australia are going well, as are the Canadians. Here's David.
Well, yeah. Good evening, and to Morningstar. I'm looking tomorrow at about lunchtime, and I'm afraid not much of a difference from what you've got now. Might be a touch more wind, but boy, it's pretty light air, and you're very close to the centers of these highs, and isobars are quite far apart. So that's the problem. Well, not much new to report tonight. Looking at satellite imagery, boy, I see heavy cloud over Vanuatu. That continues over to New Caledonia, then it goes south to Norfolk. At that point, this very wide band runs east, roughly along 30 south, all the way, believe it or not, all the way to 160 west or further. And that's one reason Morningstar has got 100% cloud. If you were to look at the satellite picture, you would understand. These points that I just gave you are the axis, and the cloud expands considerably on either side. So yachts that are running rum to New Zealand from Fiji will certainly know all about this, and those coming from Minerva will experience quite a bit of low cloud, and if at 30 south, where, yeah, Morningstar is, plenty of low to high cloud. Now, I looked a little more carefully. It doesn't seem to be any real precipitation in this, if any at all, but we'll see what happens tomorrow. The magic day of arrival that most of you have told me it will be Thursday the 28th,
Or Wednesday.
still shows a high center almost over the northern part of New Zealand, just to the west. Almost no or little wind if you arrive then. I see maybe very light westerlies near the coast, but a lot of that wind is blocked, especially if that high stays where it is. But they are moving, and the models really aren't agreeing. It's frustrating when that happens. And I looked at Minerva, not knowing Rich was taking off today or tomorrow. But on the 28th, though, that day, that fresh to strong wind that I mentioned yesterday could still be about 25 to 30 knots from the east, or it could be northeast around 25 knots. No sign of the possible depression over Tonga that I mentioned yesterday. That's gone today. That was the 1st of December we were talking about. So another reason to be very skeptical about models looking out that far. Now, interestingly, EC shows strong winds, but GFS doesn't. Although they pick up a low on, well, with one closed isobar that I could see on the 28th, at 28 south and the dateline. And there is going to be a squash zone between it and New Zealand.
This is still on the 28th.
Yeah, that is the 28th. Yep. Hang on a minute. I'm going to double check that. No, it's actually late on Saturday, the 30th, going into the 1st. We were still on the 1st of December looking at these long range model guesstimates. So that's what's happening. A totally different forecast from EC. And I hope GFS is not correct. I don't know what Pagian's ETA is going to be. It might be around then, but they're fast, so probably not. They'll be in before that. But that will be quite nasty if that does happen. But by the same token, I have no real faith in any of this. Prefer simply to wait and see what develops as these dates start to grow a little bit closer and get within that 5 day forecast period, preferably the 3 day period, where we can start counting on some of this data. So, yep, that's all I've got tonight for you. So, happy sailing, and here's the chief.
And I do need to warn you about tomorrow night. I have Nigel, who some of you will know because he runs the Winlink station up at Kaio, ZL1 and 2 SEA. He's coming down here because I have a trouble with my link to him with the new router that we've got. Isn't modern technology wonderful? So anyway, we will be very, very brief tomorrow. Probably just talk to Morningstar and then move on, because I need to completely reset everything, which means losing the internet, losing streaming. So I won't be able to say hello to Kotanui, who have just come on after rounding Cape York. They are going to have to pay a lot of attention to from where they're going now, because it gets very busy. There's lands, little bits of islands, there's Indonesian fishing boats, often not lit or with no AIS, and the reason they're going so fast is they've got 20 to 25 knots out of the east-southeast with a bar of 1003. I'll just put that on my book here, and rounding, as I mentioned, to around Cape York and heading to, I can't remember the name of the island, it's something very British. Let me have a look here. Oh, it's on this computer. Sorry, I will just go to this computer, and there it is, the Prince of Wales Island, which I might add the Seahawk is streamed past now. They're on the northwest side of that, so lots going on there. But what I would like to know from Kotanui is that they are sailing in concert with Picasso, and I always get incredibly fast reports on the AIS from Kotanui. They're within minutes of reality, whereas the Picasso reports are always an hour and a half old. And I'd love to know what AIS unit Kotanui has got. I'm thinking, my theory is that because they are a catamaran, their VHF antenna for the AIS is a lot more stable, and therefore it's easier for passing satellites to pick up, whereas Picasso is a monohull, and with that wind they will be going from side to side, and maybe that is the reason why things are not being picked up. Or it could be just the unit itself is different and better. But if you can tell me what you've got, Mike, on Kotanui, and hello to all the family and Renee. So let me know what you've got, because it is a fantastic unit in terms of the speed of reporting. Okay, I'll just pass the microphone to anybody out there who wants to say hello or give a position report or make a comment. Please call now. There's Morningstar and Shandon there. Did you hear Shandon? He's still quite light for me. Anyway, Scott, did you copy him over?
Negative, I think we doubled. But I was going to give him a call. I was going to mention, Charles, you guys are doing work on the station, and we're the only ones reporting in. There's no need to come up on our behalf if you'd like to work through the radio schedule.
Okay, I'll bear that in mind. It will just depend on when Nigel arrives. So if he doesn't arrive until sort of after 6ish, we might as well just continue. But if he arrives earlier, then we'll get straight into it. So at least you'll know what's going on if you don't hear my dulcet voice at 6:15. Over.
All right, I'll look forward to it if you do come up, and if not,
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're a ham radio operator. Do you use his station? Over?
I actually have no idea which. I think so. I've only recently started using the New Zealand Windlink stations, but I'm not sure exactly which ones they are. I think he's got a couple of them that are on the top of the list, so I expect I'm using them occasionally.
Yeah, it's SL1 and SL2 SEA, so it's easy to look at. All right, thank you for that. And yeah, but all right, well, at least you'll know what's going on, and we'll see what happens tomorrow. Your radio is actually fantastic, actually. All right, and I've got a response back from Kotanui about their AIS. They have an M-Track 958. Anyway, Picasso are near them, but they are a little patchy at times with a range of only about 9 miles on whatever one they have got. So this one on Kotanui, boy, it's the real. I would certainly recommend the M-Track 958. It's fantastic. But then again, of course, it could be the fact that it is a catamaran. Okay, I think that was about it. I know David on Shandon. Can you give another call, David? And I'll just see where you are, and I presume you will want to talk to Morningstar when we finish. Over. Yeah, no, you're quite light, and I'm sure that Morningstar, Scott and Mary would have responded to you if they heard you. But yeah, no response at the moment. Whereabouts are you? Over. Oh, okay. You just can't drag yourself away from those lovely lunches at the Duke, I suppose. Okay. Yep, and I presume the weather is pretty much the same as ours. Alrighty, well, we're going to clear the frequency, and it is available if anybody wants it. This is Gulf Harbour Radio. We will be back maybe tomorrow, but certainly back the next day. So cheers, everybody. Have a good night for those that are at sea. The frequency is clear.